Hi everyone, my name is Jason Arthur and this is my justification video for SLO number 4, Vocabulary and Comprehension Instruction. So how did applying this student learning outcome guide and impact your future decisions and practices? So I typically work with a younger age demographic than ones who would typically tackle the skill that I chose to do my lesson on. So I work full time as a preschool teacher, and as well, I'm doing my placement in a kindergarten class. So those ages are a little bit typically geared more towards just developing basic writing and reading skills because they don't really have much background with it and need those building block skills in order to help push into more complex topics such as vocabulary and reading comprehension. So this was definitely a challenge, but one I was very excited to try to tackle while I was working with my class. They surprised me every single day with what they're capable of. We introduce new things, and within a couple of days, they really start to pick up on it. And even when we're not working in an academic setting or an academic time of the day, like I am so surprised how many kids come up and start asking me questions regarding certain topics and how they're trying to weave it into their independent play as they're working through centers or doing anything like that. So very exciting. I was really excited to see if my kids were up for the challenge. Obviously, there were there were flaws in how things were executed. I definitely want to say that large group was not the best approach to at least start off to introduce the topic. I was very clear cut with how I stated objective goals for what we were looking to do in the activity we were doing. In this case, it was reading a story. But I had chosen a lesson plan from the reading source book that was geared more towards second grade. So I had to find a way to make it a little bit more age appropriate. So I chose a different book, one that I know that my kids enjoy, one that they can sit and listen to without constantly trying to either get up, do something else, or not pay attention at all. So once we had that, I was very clear throughout, stopping multiple times with, healthy breaks to be able to discuss certain phrasings that we heard, certain words that would come up that maybe there was more significance to those to try to help the kids to think a little bit more critically and think, well, if A happened, then from A happening, maybe B can happen, maybe C could happen. It was fun to see the kids be able to express different ideas that they had not just heard verbatim out of the storybook, because some of them happened to be like very spot on with how things came out, and that was great to see that they were able to use context clues from what we were doing already to build that idea and be able to execute it correctly when they were asked, what do we think is going to happen next? Who do you think is going to come up next in the story? So definitely a very interesting, I'll say, experiment bringing this into my kindergarten classroom, because they're still just trying to figure out how to write certain letters. They're still trying to figure out how to say certain letters. And they're still just trying to figure out how to read words on a page. So it was definitely very guided by me leading the way for, helping students to develop these ideas on their own, but pinpointing certain things that would definitely help them think a little bit more about what was going on. It's probably one of the times I saw the kids most focused while we were doing something, because they were actually forced to think a little bit more while we were reading what the contents of the story was, and thinking about, well, if this happened, then maybe this could happen. So I think my kids had a lot of fun with it. Definitely had a lot of disruption just having 20 kids sitting on the carpet trying to read a book at 5 years old, but it turned out relatively well, and I'm excited to see what more I can do with it in the future. But I think that's it for me. Thank you.